sent a DM to you on LinkedIn, I think about months ago. So about me, I'm Kamal. I'm a final year system engineering student at UNLAG, and I'm preparing for a career in consulting after school. So yeah, I'm a fan.
Should we tell him? Should we tell him fix?
You have fans all over the world, my dear.
Nice to meet you, Kamal. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
You said your final year, you like what department? I don't think I caught that.
System engineering.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What did
Solid.
you say?
Solid.
Who wants to go next? David, do you want to go next?
So
Yeah, on
can you hear me
mute.
now?
Okay. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
All right. So good afternoon. Good afternoon. I checked. I've gone through your LinkedIn. I've not checked your Spotify yet. I've been having exams this week, so I've not been able to, switch yet. My exams are lasting to the end of next week. So I promise to go through them properly. But
You
I
don't need
saw
to, I
that
promise
you
you.
are a
You don't need to,
recruiter
but
and you got a lot of stuff on your LinkedIn. So I'm really looking forward to today's meeting.
cool. This is one of the Oluwani dynasties as well. Wait. Or
Oluwani is my name.
Okay.
okay, your name is Oluwani, but your surname is David.
No,
So my
his
name is David.
David.
Because I was like, this Oluwani is a very common name to only one person that I know. So this name, this is like one of the dynasty.
Maybe there's something there. Maybe, just maybe.
No, actually, no, I met one Oluwani a couple of weeks back. I need to even reply his email. Oh my God, I'm so bad. Nice to meet you, David. Nice to meet you.
Thank you too. Nice to meet you, sir.
Shalom, do you want to go next?
Hi everyone, I'm Shalom Jalalua. I'm in my final year 500 level. I'm studying law at Koladaisi University.
Nice to meet you, Sharon.
Thank you. Osa, do you want to go next? So for those that just joined, we're introducing ourselves to Olu, just your name, your university, if you've stalked him on LinkedIn, anything that excites you about him, things like that.
Wow, Sharon. Wow. Hey, calming down.
Osa, do you want to go?
Everyone.
Hi, Osa.
My name is Favor. I just recently graduated from Covenant University. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, also. Was it Favor that you just said you are now?
I'm Favor.
Favor, okay, fine.
Debbie Jones? Okay. Debbie Jones is on mute. Eunice, you want to go ahead?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Eunice Anwole Chukwudebe. I'm a recent graduate of Plant Biology and Biotechnology from Uniben. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So Aya 2, you just joined. We're introducing ourselves to Segun Olu. So your name, university, anything you want to say about him, if you know.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good
Good
afternoon, Chef.
afternoon.
My name is Amaramide, and I'm a recent graduate of Covenant University. And I studied accounting, and I'm a qualified chartered accountant as well. So that's basically, thank you.
Wait, Aya is not sounding as excited today. Get to that later.
I hope everything is all right.
I hope everything is good.
Please
Okay.
blink twice if you need help. Just blink. Need help.
Okay, we have 1 hour today, so I just want to get into today's session. For as many people that will join, they can introduce themselves after. But yeah, so the essence of today's session is really a fireside chat with Olu to get from a recruiter's perspective. Olu is a global, worldwide, renowned, chief solid recruiter.
I
If
don't
you
know
want to
that.
be
I
a
don't know if
recruiter,
you guys don't know.
it
You
should
don't
be
know
your
things, but one of
mentor's mentor. If you,
I don't know if you, how you guys know. I don't know how much you have
if you
faith.
know what I'm talking
We just know that faith is not someone that you believe all the time. I'm just saying, like,
they know me. They know me. I don't lie. If you're good, you're good, right?
kill.
So I want to use this session to get from your perspectives, things around what's best practice, what have you seen with candidates, especially like either recent graduates or, final year students that have come to intern that you see as, oh, I saw this quality either through interviews or, conversations with them, things that you believe everyone looking to get into the career space should be aware of and should, try to imbibe. So that's one. Do we see any trends in the way companies are looking at recruiting? Do we see that either they are introducing new types of tests or, they are assessing candidates differently? How should this, I would say, students or recent graduates be thinking of if I'm applying to multinationals like Mckinsey, BCG, and the rest? As I'm recruiting, what should I keep in mind that the company is actively looking out for? If you have any personal story of, you met this candidate, you just had this great experience because of A, B, C, D, E, F, you could share personal stories with us and then just wrap up with final advice that, you have for these lovely people on the call. So that's like the walkthrough of how I want the session to go. You can include or reduce if you want anything, but we can start out with number one, if that's fine with you. Should we go ahead?
Cool. Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
All
And
right.
I think I would be a bit rude if I also did not introduce myself so that you guys know
Actually,
half of
sorry.
what Faith is saying is lies and the other half is true.
Sorry about
So
that.
I can sort of like sift half of what she's saying and tell you that be careful.
You're just too humble for your own good, but okay.
Be careful. Be careful, but yes, lovely to meet you all, ladies and gentlemen. The way I always like to pitch myself when I start with introductions is I'm a man who gives people opportunities. That's what I do for a living. I give opportunities to have, for recent graduates, their first career, people who are experienced in the field, a different career, and to everybody a chance to have an impactful career. That's what I do. I give opportunities. I've been doing that for the last 6 years, primarily across consulting firms and before that, educational industry. Besides from work, I'm somebody who loves to do 3 things. One is eat free food, which is what everybody I imagine in this world loves to do. Secondly is I love to play in spaces where I can meet people. So after this call, for instance, I have this and I do on the side called 4 is a Crowd. Essentially, every 2 months, I get 4 people together and we just talk about random stuff. This time, I have roughly 10 people coming to join me for lunch, and we're going to talk about investments and, I don't know, financial planning. Right, so looking forward to that session. The third one is I do love cartoons a lot. So is there any reason why I joined the meeting late? It's because I was watching cartoons. I don't discriminate. Any cartoon for me is fantastic. So that's me, really. I think what really pushed me into this field of recruiting is two things rather. The first is because when I started to work at Lagos Business School, which is where NYSC sort of sent me, and that was because I had programs like this when I was in my university days. I had one at Lagos Business School called is it the Young Talents Program now or something? I forgot to name. Very bad with that. Exactly, Faith to remind me. And I went there. Exactly. Spent like a week or so there. Was it a week or a day? I think a day. Yeah, then it was a day. Now it's about 2 days. Just getting to know people about the university and what they do. And such, I was able to get posted for my NYSC. I was working in departments that recruit people to come do MBAs, essentially the people that give admissions. Right. And one of the things I was hearing from people who wanted to give admissions to whether they wanted to do their in a business school abroad as opposed to at Lagos Business School, which is justified, especially if you don't want to go to like Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Duke, Oxford, the list really goes on. The top schools, essentially. But sometimes you hear things that you hear a business school name, not even people living on that street of the business school, there's a business school on that street. You're like, why are you choosing this school over one that is even ranked, in Africa and everything? You hear 2 reasons. The first one is that people just want to leave the country, right? Something that my generation is still recovering from, right? And I'm sure your generation as well already programmed in their mind that I'm just leave this country or give up on this country. And the second reason essentially were people who just felt that their career had stagnated or they couldn't do anything super stand out, amazing, or impactful here in Nigeria anymore. So they were just like go abroad to greener pastures and so like start over again. So my opportunity came to join BCG, my first consulting company. I jumped at it, primarily for three reasons. One, of course, it was a salary jump like 4-5x. So why not? But the second reason was because I felt that people in that second category, people who wanted to have an amazing career, interesting career, went to something over again, I could have the chance to recruit this type of folks and give them a reason to believe in Nigeria or reason to have like a career jumpstart. So BCG wanted to give the most deserving, most amazing opportunities. And here I could be that person doing exactly that. And finally, as faith may or may not know, I really, really, really love my country. Sometimes it's hard to love it, but most times it's easy. One of my life goals is to eventually be a technocrat, essentially somebody who advises politicians and policymakers. So yeah, this is my inclined pinnacle in that. Along that career line, I'm going to be a lecturer as well. So I always jump at this sort of opportunities to just talk to students or people who are, I don't know, how going about a career, so I can get like, practical experience on the field, because those folks who went to Unilag, where I also went to, sometimes just wondering if this lecturer is talking to you, coming to my flex on you. It's like, and I have so many stories of clashing with lecturers. If you guys want to hear it, let me know. I have so many stories, you don't believe. Oh my God. Yeah, I was terrible. But anyway, so I told myself, the kind of thing that you be solution you want to see, right? Like if you keep on leaving people who do not have quote unquote other options to end up in these very important fields like lecturing, like the police, like civil service, then of course what you have there essentially is not the best of quality. Right? So all that said, I hope some of you on this call are going to consider, that kind of career. It's not as rewarding as the industry, right? But it definitely has its perks, when you come to the tail end of your life and you see that what you really wanted was impact. And they say that after your parents, your teacher is the most important person in your life, teacher or coach. So anyway, I'm holding that till I go to my grave. But I've gone on a very long tirade introducing myself. But please don't use anything I said against me, because I will deny everything.
Actually admire your lecturing dream, by the way. I
Yeah,
think it's amazing.
that's my plan.
I think it's something everyone should pursue at some point.
At some point, too.
At some point in life, I think. Okay, so let's start with the first question. It's really going to be a chit chat. It's not too serious, right?
Yeah,
how's the
slides.
recruit? No. Some other topics require slides, not this one. But how's recruiting space like today? Like, what have you seen as the main evolve? Like, you've been here now for 6 years. How have things changed? What are the new trends? Like, how would you say it's like today, especially for candidates like this that are looking to do their career?
Yeah, great. Before I answer that question, I'm going to just say one thing, which is, as you can imagine, I'm not the single source of truth, right? So anything I say, is purely from my experience, opinion, or research. So you guys can also develop your own opinion, do your own research or experience to tell you how things are like, right? So yeah, but to answer the question directly, right, I would say there are maybe 2, if not 3, trends that one sees right now in the coaching space. And I'll be remiss if I don't mention the first one as AI, right? Or instead of that tool, because I'm going to say the amount instead of AI in general, expand that bucket to say like candidates have a lot more tools at their disposal now than they had previously, right? And it goes both ways, candidates and companies, right? So maybe before, to give an example, if I go to that too, maybe before they would assemble everybody in an assessment center to do like a test. Now just like ship the test, remotely, and they find a way to monitor you, right? So there's a lot of tools now at your disposal, both for the company and both for the candidates. Second one is that there's also people say there's a talent gap, right? Which is, has been there since I was born, essentially. But I think it's widen a bit now, right? And that can also be an opportunity at the same time a detriment. Now I'll tell you why. Talent gap because I typically like, and Faith knows this very well, so I like to go after the best students of every university. That's what I like to do. Just go there and grab them. For the folks who are coming at university, I've managed to for the past 4 or 5 years, and for back as well, just go there, get the best people, right? But what's typically happening now is that those best people are having opportunities internationally, which as they should, right? And not just that, you also have people who are the best in their fields here, eloping, that's the right word I can use, to international countries to maybe we're gonna take to get underpaid or going to lower jobs. Not everybody necessarily hits like one for one the job they have in Nigeria and where they're going to put in Canada or US. So that's the detriment to the companies, right? Because we're losing these really skilled people. It's opportunity to people who are quote unquote not as super skilled because they're reducing the competition pool. Right. So maybe, I don't know, the company before was hiring first class and above, presenting above first class, right? But now they're like, okay, yes, I'll do 2-1 now because first class people now are going to Google in India, right? So yeah, opportunity and detriment is how I want to look at it. And I think the third one is, I think we're increasingly seeing that companies, are now having their own in-house training programs, as opposed to before, where they just solely and truly trust essentially what the university is churning out, right? So right now they come on board and say, okay, yes, you have a first degree in systems engineering, if I was just come an example, right? But okay, you still need to go through like a 1 year, I don't know, training plan or a 6 months training plan. That program before used to be set up to fast track management trainees, right? So you have hired in, and in 2-3 years, you're essentially manager of a department, right? Because gotten solid education. But then they're like, you know what? First go and do 6 months in banking school, or 1 year doing this, 1 year doing that, before we now give you opportunities for your level. This primarily is because the educational system in Nigeria is not living up to the standard they should live up to by now, right? Of course, not in all schools, but many schools. And that again is like the downside of that. But the upside is it means that you can easily career switch at a very early age, right? I mean, give an example. I studied estate management, right? So there's nothing close to HR in what I studied, right? Not even close, right? And if you walk into a consulting firm, for instance, you see a lot of guys who are engineering graduates, right? Even more than accountants or economics, right? You should see a lot of engineering graduates. There are few fields that you would say you need to have a bachelor's degree in this to do this. Law is one of them. Medicine as well. Medicine and surgery, dentistry and the likes. But other fields, banking, consulting, I don't know, bricklaying, coding, I don't know, UI, UX, whatever, right? Those ones, HR, you just need to get the skill set you need. That's one. And second one is really get your grades up, right? So be desirable enough for the company to say, I'm ready to train this person because they spent like 4 years or 5 years doing the best they can to get the best they can, right? And also just really chase on those opportunities that you want, right? Don't self-deny or self-delete just because they say, oh, only engineers have made it in there. Like you could be the first person who studied IRPM that becomes a partner at a consulting firm just because you pushed. Again, this is not a Disney movie. It doesn't always happen because you put your back into it. Sometimes life will life, right? But might as well just be the one that's at least tried. But anyway, I think that's that question well, Faith. Happy to dig a bit more, but that's my first answer.
I think it makes sense actually, but as you were speaking, I was like, for students, right? One thing I heard from you is even if you don't necessarily have the highest of grade, because of the way Nigeria is, there's potentially more opportunity in places that you probably wouldn't have had opportunities before. So there is a positive side to that, right? But do you think that it's now more difficult to get like the right set of talent? Or for these guys in the room, what can they do differently now that there's kind of a gap or a space for them? What can they do differently to position themselves for? And let's allow it consulting, because I think like if you ask Kamal, Ayotu, most people are interested in consulting. So maybe do consulting and other industries, or maybe do consulting first and then other industries.
Yeah, sure. Consulting is one of those industries that you don't need like a bachelor's degree in, I don't know, a particular field to join it,
Mhm.
right? Of course, there are some fields that the consulting firm will typically value because they have very analytical skills. Those three fields would be engineering, economics, and of course business majors, right? Or rather, STEM and business majors. And chief in STEM is engineering, something a bit more analytical will be math. And for chief in business, the business fields will be your accounting and economics. But it doesn't mean that those are the only ones that they look out for. Now, if you're trying to break into consulting as a career path, I think there are three things that you should think about as you're trying to make that move, right? And um, I think the first one, I'm going to say all three, then I'll break it down. Of course, the first one is your profile, right? That speaks to your CV, which I'm going to talk about. The next one will be how ready you are for the process, right? That's the interview process itself is a different ballgame. They can, of course, tell you how I experienced 3, 4 years, right? I think the third one is to now know that sometimes it's not just like a one-touch goal for you to go into it, right? You need to see, okay, I can't go in now, and I'm able to like take a break and come back 1, 2 years. And I'll tell you, I'll now break all this down. So first for the profile, essentially that's like as I mentioned before, your CV, right? When we are screening CVs in consulting, at least when I am screening CVs in consulting, something that we tend to look out for, and this is me just trying to put structure to where there's no structure, and what I call the 3 E's, right? These 3 E's are your education, experience, social curricular, right? The ratio of the importance of these 3 E's vary on the level that you are in. And speak to this crowd, the most important E for you right now is your education, right? Consulting firms, as you can imagine, are the most premium of employers in business space, right? And as such, they demand a lot from people that they want to hire because they typically remunerate a lot, right? So they're like, if I can pay, I don't know, 2 times above markets and some roles 10 times above markets, I should be able to get, I don't know, the best talent in the markets just because I can afford to pay it. So why not? Right. So that is why you would typically get a very high rate of rejection in consulting, right? Sometimes they only interview or hire 1% of the people that apply to them. And this is the global average, not the global percentage, not like a Lagos average, 1%. And you can check the data here. I say that consulting firms are interested in the top 1% of the top 1%. Right. So the only thing that you need to get into now will be your grades, right? So like how high are they? How competitive are they? What school, what department, what field? Right, then look at their experience. Where have you worked? What have you done? Your internships. Maybe you had something in, I don't know, Schlumberger or whatever the list is, oil and gas firms. So you worked in Goldman Sachs, right? So like you've been able to sort of like practical experience that you've gotten over time, which is super important for consulting firms to see that you have what it takes. And finally, it's now the extracurricular, right? So did you lead something while you're in school? Did you run this? Did you run that? I don't know. Are you the president of your, I don't know, giving back to Beggars Club? I don't know, right? Something very standout. So they see that, right, that this person is great. Of course, all these three things come together fantastically on a profile. So your CV is well, readable because now people use like, ATSs. Nobody sends, I won't say nobody, but big companies don't accept CVs by email anymore. So you have to like make sure that once I open and double click, I can read it quickly. There's nothing like putting a picture on there and all that. Like there are standard formats for resume that you should keep in mind. One that I highly recommend is the Harvard CV format, HBS CV format. Like you guys just Google that and see how HBS, Harvard Business School, or INSEAD, or those top business schools encourage their MBA candidate to structure their CV just one page, right? Which is quite helpful, especially if it's like kind of starting a career. So that's like the first one, like your profile. And the other one I mentioned is the interviewing, right? The interview format in consulting is super nuanced. Sometimes it can be quite daunting to Nigerian graduates. And I say that particularly because if you compare ourselves, right, to our peers in, Europe, US, these people are preparing for consulting from their year 1 or year 2, right? They join consulting clubs, they join this or that. Maybe Mckinsey comes to town and presents to them in their year 1. They're like, oh, wow, I need to join these guys. And start doing cases right out of the bat. And they have like 3 years of long game prep. I typically say, and this is my personal opinion, not McKinsey's, that once you see the job ad for a consulting role, you're already too late, right? At that point, you're too late, right? Or let me rephrase that, you are a bit late in the game. right? And of course, that means that if you haven't prepped, like say job ad, like okay, we're hiring now consultants. Deadline is August. I'm not sure today's about February. We're hiring consultants. The time to apply is March. I don't know, 12th, right? At that point, if you're already prepping for the last 1 year, you have 3 weeks to prep, right? Which is going to take a toll on you. So if you have consulting as one of your career goals, then right now it's time to start paying for it, right? While you are in final year, penultimate year, whatever, right? I mean, you graduate like 6 to 8 months. So the next 6 to 8 months, I encourage people to do like one case interview every day. Just Google search case interview, just do one every day. The beauty of that is, of course, you prepare for consulting that way. By the same time, you sharpen so much problem-solving skills like in any industry you want to go into, really. So just like for the next 6 months, I do one case interview every day, right? That's my way of preparing for this thing. Because if I'm shortlisted for it, I'm ready to go ahead, right? Of course, don't get me wrong. The folks who are like super smart and just need like 2 weeks of prep, But I mean, those people form the top 10% of the top 10%, right? And even they're super smart, still put in the effort, it really helps, right? The right thing I mentioned was that, the it's not just like one touch and go. Sometimes it's like they want to apply for a job and you just get thrown off the cards really quickly, right? On the horse really quickly because maybe somebody else's profile better than yours at that moment, or you just came, 50th best in the test or whatever, right? Just know that you can enter consultant at a different level, right? So you can enter as a graduate trainee, right? For Mckinsey, that is the Young Leaders Program. For BCG, I think it's called the Business Analyst Program, right? And other consulting firms have what their graduate trainee roles look like, right? But that doesn't mean that that's the only point to enter, right? So do not despair if you don't get called, right? At the first time you try. So what I encourage people to do, and this is not just for consulting, and this is how I can now segue into other departments, other fields if there's time, is look at the track record of people who have made it in that department or field or company, whatever, right? So if you see that, okay, it looks like people have joined consulting firms like, the MBBs typically have worked for like Big Four before, right? So some join out of like university, that's like the ideal if you want to just like get your ball rolling. If you're like, okay, I want to be in a consulting firm, how do I invest my next 1-2 years because I'm ready for it, right? And you go on LinkedIn, do a bit of research, check out profiles, as some of you mentioned that you did for me. And you see that, okay, this guy was a PwC, that one at KPMG, so that one was at Deloitte, so that one was, I don't know, in this bank somewhere. Then you know that, okay, I don't get into consulting out of the bat. The next one I need to land on is the Big Four, right? Or I need to have this title or this role because it looks like it will give me that 1 year of prep. And in the year's time, when I'm applying, I look more appealing to the recruiter because I'm essentially speaking the language that they understand, right? And this also applies in other industries as well. Like if you try to look at, say, Harvard, right? Or I'm going to use Harvard and something else. I don't know, I'm calling Harvard a lot. Maybe I'm going to go there for my MBA. God, do it for me. Anyway, so you look at Harvard and you see that the track record, they always post statistics of where people are coming from, right? And you see, 40% consultants, 30% from tech, or 30% from banking. You know that Harvard has I don't know, track record, I don't want to say bias of hiring from these places, or they understand what happens here, or what they want is more prevalent in this industry versus the other, right? So you start preparing for that. Like, okay, I start doing this now, The third one, and I said I'm going to give an industry example, right? The same thing also holds true if you are applying to, I don't know, Facebook, right? It's like, okay, what does Facebook recruit from? Google. Well, that's too big. What is below Google? I don't know. Adobe. Okay, I can get into Adobe, right? Maybe because those companies sometimes know, and I don't know if no shade to anybody, right? Sometimes maybe they know that they're not as top tier as the big ones, right? So they're gonna have to be very, very finicky. That's one. Secondly, is that those companies will be bigger. And as such, it could incubate more people, right? Maybe the consulting firm in Nigeria not that big, so they can only take like 5 graduates every year, but maybe a Big Four can do 10x that, right? So you have more chances of getting in there than, say, a consulting firm, right? And the list really goes on, right? So I say those are the 3 things that I encourage people to do to try and prepare career consulting. And over to you, Faith. Does that sort of make sense? And do I need to know the other things?
I think it does. I think it does a lot. And I'll just give like a personal example. I was telling Kamal the other day during our feedback session that in as much as everybody wants the MBBs, everybody wants McKinsey, BCG being it's amazing, But one thing, if you don't get it, is like look for the second best. Don't just say, okay, this is the end of my career, this is it. And it applies to whatever field or industry you're looking at. If you don't get the premium top one, like start already looking at, okay, what's the second next best? Because when you're now ready for this first best, your experience in this second best is actually what will count for you, right? So I very much 1,000% agree with everything you said, Olu, and I hope everyone here, you can apply it to whatever industry you're looking at. If you want to start out with the top guys, and maybe because of your education or you don't have enough experience, like don't settle for the least. Always go to, okay, so what's next best that I can look at, because it all sums up eventually. So and I did not really add much. I just wanted to, verify and over verify what you said, and I hope it made sense. I hope it made sense. Okay, so I'm conscious of time, but although I wanted to share like a personal experience. You've I don't know, you've not interviewed directly, but you've actually sat on interviews, or you've been in the room where you've seen candidates excel, especially in interviews. What stood out? What made this candidate excel? Was it like rapport? Was it just knowing your stuff? Like, what exactly should, as these students and graduates look to interview? What's best practice? Like, what's standard for them that they should look out for?
Sure. I think the first thing really is to know what the company is looking for. It's like if you're trying to pass an exam, the most important thing is, well, not for all schools, but is to give the person that's marking what exactly they want, right? Follow the marking scheme of whatever lecturer that's at the exam. Of course, that's like, oh, but no, I want to show myself, I want to, fantastic. You do that after you've gotten the A, right? Right now, the focus on making sure that you tick all the boxes that the lecturer, or at least the person who is grading you, is looking for, right? Then, once you now tick all the boxes, then you can now go above and beyond. And what I start with that is, once you understand the way these companies, and this isn't just consulting, interview, right? Then you at least know what you're preparing yourself for, and you can closely mirror, or rather closely mark those checkboxes, right? So let me give a practical example, right? So there's this guy who, I recently hired to join my firm, right? For him, like, he already had like a fantastic profile on paper. So Nigerian graduates, top of his class, university he finished from, right? And even, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was most likely the best student in university, right? So his profile already checked out, right? But I mean, that doesn't mean that because somebody's first class or otherwise that the first class that they would get job more often than not, right? They are in the same bucket as everybody who is 2-1, right? Once you get into the interviewing door, whatever got you there has done the best it can, or done the best it could, and you just don't like us sharing what you now know based on the prompts or the questions that they give you. So I think what made this guy really stand out was that he understood really clearly what we were looking for, right? The way Mckinsey interviews is case interviews. That's what we do, right? And this guy had prepared himself a lot of times, with this case interviews. In fact, I was just walking the guy out of the building, and he was, just standing there and seeing that, okay, so it's a very random example, by the way. The lifts had like roughly 4 or 5 lifts in our building. The lifts are coming a bit slow, right? And he goes, how can we problem solve here? How many lifts can take any people? How do we do this so that things can come fast? I'm like, guy, you're finished the interview. You don't need to be trying to overdo, but you can see that the guy has been casing for so long that everything he sees now is a problem for him to solve. At that point, second nature, he understood what we're looking for. Again, that's a bit too drastic and a bit too dramatic, right? But I think that it really backs up the example that you need to understand what the companies are looking out for. Now, I'll add a few things to that, right? Sometimes, consulting firms typically pride themselves on the fact that we share more information on our process than any company out there, most companies out there, right? You can easily just go online and search recruiting for McKinsey, and you will see so much information there. Same with BCG and say Bain, right? The videos. In fact, if you join any of these two MBB recruiting process, they will give you someone to coach you. I'm sure Faith has done that many times. someone to coach you, they'll invite you to the office, they'll do all these things, like really make sure that you get the job. You'll be so surprised that what is happening here? These people love me more than my mother loves me, right? It's because they found that you're a gem and they don't want to lose you, either to somebody else, just have those competitors like not having you work with them because they invested so much to get you there. But even though they do all these things, people still fail, right? But anyway, consulting industries, consulting firms will share that with you. But what about tech, right? You don't go on, I don't know, some tech companies and you see everything about interviewing there. Sometimes the companies typically will keep the information to themselves and not let you know so that when you come there, you'll be surprised. That's their own hiring strategy. So here's what you do, right? You find people working in that industry or that company on LinkedIn and chase them, right? Say, hey, please, I'm interviewing your company next 2 weeks or next 1 week, or I don't know, in 4 or 5 days, right? Would you mind just spending 30 minutes with me, letting me know how it's like to interview for you guys, right? Or I've seen XYZ online, how they prefer these 3 things, right? So you join forums or you join classes or whatever, but get that knowledge, right? Understand what it is. And okay, maybe the person will reply you, but at least you've tried, and sometimes you should go through a second meet, right? For instance, you are trying to apply to work for, I don't know, Money Points, right? And maybe you now see that maybe Isaac, right, as you put on your contact on LinkedIn, Isaac has a plug in Money Points, either the HR guy or somebody who is in the role that you are looking to fill as well. You tell Isaac, could you introduce me to Eunice, who works at Money Points? I would like to spend like 20 minutes with her just understanding how consulting is done or how to interview for this role at Money Points. And Isaac, if he knows you very well, is happy to share capital with you, right? But I think understanding really what the companies are looking out for can clearly make you distinctive, right? Then, of course, understanding then actually regurgitating that to just doing it. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be like a robot, right? But at least the baseline needs to be checked, right? And yeah, well, sometimes a little bit of luck just goes a long way. Right? Maybe the interviewer that you got that day has eaten before interviewed you, so he's happy, or the woman that you saw, her child got first class, and she's like, everybody did that first class, like my child, so yeah, passed. We don't expect those kind of things that will come, work first. Like my friend says, listen, I'm going to end with this. I guess it's a common saying, but I'm just going to paraphrase it for my friends. Like, work hard like you don't pray and pray hard like you don't work. It's like do both of them to the extreme, right? So that at least one of them will click, even both of them don't, right? So I don't know if I answered that question again, Faith, but that's what comes out to me immediately.
It does. And I just, first of all, thank you very much. I think at the end of the day, to be fair, it's more about doing than hearing. In all fairness,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything new that, although you're saying that, to be fair, participants haven't heard before, but it's kind of validating, number one. And if not anything, just gives you that extra pressure and drive that you say, I can do this thing because it pays off. Don't let me lie to you. It does pay off to start out your career really well. It sets your life up for success. And
Yeah.
I think like just do. It will pay off. It'll be off. I want to end in like 5 minutes. So final question for you, Olu, and then we'll open it up to the room. The last 15 minutes, anyone can ask any question. Final question will be, what advice would you have for them? You've given a lot of advice, first of all, but see them as your younger brothers or younger sisters, and they're like, I want to make you great in life. Please be great in life. What advice?
My younger siblings are
you...
taking my money too much. So I advise them to take my money. Leave my money alone.
Don't see them. See them as my younger siblings.
No.
What advice? Final words of advice for them.
I'll say I'm really happy to hear, or really glad rather, to see that you guys are already, put yourself out there by joining this platform or this program, and also which is appropriate. I imagine both are, right? So it's like that's the first thing. You just really put yourself out there. It's the world is a bit too big, but Nigeria is super saturated, right? And I'm trying to look for right now. I used to have it somewhere, right? So I'm trying to look for it right now. I used to have it somewhere. Let me check. Right, I had it somewhere. Let me see if I can remember it. I had written down a while back because I was giving, yes, exactly. NUC, I checked this February this year, right? NUC has, like in Nigeria, we have roughly 264 universities, right? And these universities plus polytechnics enroll almost 2 million students yearly, right? And that number, roughly 600,000 people graduate, right? So once you guys graduate, you're going to be competing with, I don't know, maybe 500,000 and again, like, and I'm sure that number is going to increase because people are entering school now a bit younger, right? So imagine at some points in your life, you're going to be competing with 1 million people who are leaving school. And this is just the ones in Nigeria. Of course, you have people who jackpada from going to go and school in Cyprus or wherever they went to go and school, right? So you have all these people that are fighting with, right? You don't have the luxury right now to just put your arms behind your back and scroll through TikTok. I don't know how you can do that behind your back anyway, but you cannot just scroll through TikTok, right? Do that later. Sometimes when I'm trying to get myself off social media, and maybe I'll more comfortable with my advice when I share this story, I'll be like, oh my God, let me just check the next reel, the next picture, the next post. I promise you that there are many posts that you haven't checked, especially when you're sleeping at night, and it didn't change about your life. You know, there are many things that you would not know, not check, and you'll be all right. Of course, there's some random life hacks. You're like, wow, I don't know that if you freeze, I don't know, your handkerchief, it's turned to gold. I don't know, these kind of random life hacks. But typically, there are many things that you would not need or bother to see on social media that would add nothing to your life, right? So you cannot sleep on your hustle. That's exactly what I'll leave you with. Like, do not do that. So put yourself out there a lot, right? Find yourself in places that stretch you, that give you good opportunities towards what you're chasing, right? I mean, be super intentional about it. And replace those things that, if you at the end of the day look at it, they're not giving you value, replace them with things of value. So social media to podcasts, for instance, right? Movies to books, right? And I don't know, just going on random, what's it called? Going to, then when I was much younger, to give you the context of my age, ShopRite used to be like the big thing back then. You just go there and sit there and do entirely nothing. You just go there and form big boy. In fact, sometimes you follow your guys, like 7 of you, to go and buy chewing gum in ShopRite, so get that bag, and you have gotten ShopRite bag. Now it's no longer a thing, thank God. Right? But just doing that, standing, trying to flex, I think it has time and place. Forgive me, like, you do all those things, but replace those things with things that are super high value, right? So think of how to be high value right now. Don't sleep on your hustle. Now, the path to life can be exceedingly tough, right? I'm saying this right now because, I mean, I've been privileged, right? I mean, I'm working for a multinational, an MBB to put, and I've somehow walked across 2 or 3 of them. Of course, I can make things from here and say what I can say from here. I can say rubbish from here. I can talk, and it will be part of 10 commandments, of course, right? But I think like, it doesn't mean that what I'm saying is not true, right? Right? It doesn't mean that you can have the same story as well, right? And before you, and maybe I'm not speaking to myself when I'm speaking to you guys, before you sort of like excuse something or raft away something, of course you say what you can say, it's earning X amount. So of course you can say that because it's parents sent it to private university. Of course you can. Before you do that, investigate to see if there's any truth in that thing. Right. And if there is truth, then okay, can I apply to my own situation, my own scenario? So those are my 2 pieces of advice, something like that. First of all, don't sleep on your hustle, right? Don't sleep at all. Replace those things in your life that are not giving you so much value to high value things. And you would see after 1 year of investing how that will change you. And the second one is about be curious about many things. Don't just, wave away things because you think that they will not apply to your own scenario, your own context, somebody's in the US or Nigeria. No. Be curious. What can I take from this that I can apply to mine and develop with it? That's my mic drop moment.
Thank you very, 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 very much. So even me, I was like, wisdom for this. Okay, so we have 13 minutes, but we're going to open it up. Apologies for the noise. Anyone that has questions, things that, you want to ask Olu in the last 13 minutes. The room is open for everyone, by the way.
It's a cold call, FYI. Just cold call someone to ask me a question. But anyway, come on.
Okay.
Just cold call someone.
All right. Thank you so much for the session. I think I've learned a lot. Like Chris said, there's really nothing new, but then you validated a lot of things that I might have learned online and from conversations with other consultants. So thank you very much for the session so far. I think my question, so you mentioned the three buckets important for fresh graduates and final year students, extracurricular, work experience, and then education. But then for candidates that maybe in one of those three buckets they might not stand out, but then the other two get a clearly stand out. How do you advise the kind of knowing they have that limitation, work their way towards their goal? So is it through networking and building rapport with recruiters like you, how do they navigate that path to get their goal?
Yeah. So yeah, you already started on that path, right? Like if you're not distinctive, I can use that word in one of those three E's that I mentioned, right? Okay, then make sure that the other two are distinctive, right? So you cannot just be like 1/3. You have to be at least 2/3, right? And if for some reason the one that are not so distinctive in is the one that like it's a bit more valued in the industry, let's say education, let's say experience, then you have to, as I already mentioned, like try and get yourself in the face of those people that matter so that they see the other traits that you have that make them want to take a chance on you, right? As I was already said. And what I mentioned earlier still holds true, which is, okay, I can't directly go towards the goal right now, but what can I invest in myself to get there? Or what habits can I change so that I'm closer there? Okay, maybe I need to now go and get a CFA, right? Maybe that would make me more appealing to people in the financial markets because that's exactly what they're looking for. I mean, that's super expensive, an investment, but still, who I need to get like an icon, right? Or I just need to be going for these conferences. Or maybe instead of joining like just tier one, right? Let me start with tier two first or tier 2.5 and build myself to tier one, right? And I think the thought thing I'll add to that would be, get yourself a mentor, right? Someone who has braved these waters before, someone who can tell you from their experience how things could be like. And it's not a person who's trying to make you their own image, far from it, right? But they see what you're trying to do, recognize it, and like shape you like a sculptor, right? Trying to bring out, I don't know, we start with a marble or block. Okay, I see we're trying to do that. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do all this. Someone will keep you honest, right? So those are three things I'll add. One is, okay, you can't be 1/3, just to quickly recap. You have to be 2/3 at the very least, right? Put the effort, because what you have right now is effort. You don't have experience. You can put your Ishon is your superpower right now. So apply that Ishon, right? That's the first one. Secondly is, as we already mentioned, networking and all that interesting stuff, going out there, put out there, right? So third is you can get to the goal immediately, right? Maybe next time. Like the Olympians who maybe gone for the Olympics, 100-meter dash, they didn't get on the podium in the for the next 4 years and try and get the next 4 years. So you keep on trying to push on the goal. And the fourth one is get somebody who can help you along your journey, right? Just really just keep you close, keep you on brand, and just monitor you, help you with tips, and just listen to you when you're ranting, essentially. Those are the four things I say to put my. I don't know if anybody else in the group has anything else to add to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That really helped answer my question.
No worries, come on.
Apologies, I'm at the
Yeah.
airport. But does anyone else have any question?
Hi, Shegun. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the insights you shared. So the question I have is, like, how do you describe success for a consultant? Like, for example, if we use tech guys, success to a lot of them is successfully writing codes that run, and if it's an app now, for the app to do what it's meant to do. So like, what qualifies as success for a consultant?
Yeah, sure. This question will be so much, better answered by Faith because she is the consultant, right? But if I were to take a stab at it, I would also say the same rubric applies, right, to the tech guy and the consultant. The reason why that code, right? Let me take a step back and say the tech guy can write code that doesn't add any value to the project, even though it runs, right? But what of course, you can say that's obvious, but it's just as we pointed out that the person has succeeded because they met whatever KPIs that the firm, the company has put in place for them to make it work, right? And one of those KPIs, to refer to the example you said, is making sure that this code runs. Now, for a consultant, they also have similar KPIs on projects, right? It's a bit more intangible than a tech person. It's a bit hard to quantify it. But is it there? Of course it is. I would say maybe you need to be, I don't know, there are three things that typically people are graded on, right, in the consulting, right? There are many of them, but this thing comes to my mind. The first is how they're able to problem solve, right? I'm going to some of them, problem solving, communication, a bit around teamwork. And sometimes you can have things around modeling the values of the company, right? And sometimes maybe something around, I think the fourth one escaped. Let's talk those four for now. So these rubrics, all consulting firms that what their sold have detailed what a 1 is, imagine 1 is lowest, and what a 5 is. They've written down in the handbook that you would see once you join that for you to be rated very high in communication, for example, or problem solving, for an example, you need to have ticked all these boxes, right? And you would know about that. You would know because of two things. One, you can always evaluate yourself, and the manager will always evaluate you. So there's always that feedback. Consulting is known to be super high on feedback, very, very high on feedback, right? And also you would see it play out, right? Because what you're bringing every time it doesn't get included in the final draft of the document or final documents. So you would see it yourself, right? So yes, it's not as tangible as tech, right? Or maybe manufacturing, but consulting does have its own rubric of what good looks like, right? And maybe again, I think Faith is a better person to ask question because she's right there in the middle of consulting. So maybe you can ask her, or she can share that the class is over, right? But there are metrics to guide you for sure, right? Because if not, then we won't know who needs support and who needs to be praised or who needs to be promoted and who sometimes needs to be let go. So again, I don't answer that question I already did very well, but that's my first pass.
Okay, thank you so much. The three things
No
you
worries
mentioned.
so much.
I'll just add that I would say every industry has their own metrics, like Tolu mentioned. Every industry has their own metrics, and if you're doing case interviews, the things you'll be assessed on: communication, structuring, synthesis, like all these things. They just have different names, but that's really what your job is about, and that's what you're assessed on. So your ability to solve through the case interviews and do well shows your ability to excel on the job. I don't know if it makes sense. So yeah, I think we can go into details of what the different things mean, but the most important thing for success will be identifying what is good performance in your industry, and from day one, like just cracking it out. It makes a whole lot of difference. But you need to identify it and you need to be intentional about excelling on those metrics. So yeah.
Thank you for great.
You're welcome. Last question. Last question. Who wants to go last question?
I agree.
Oh,
Isaac,
No, worry,
Isaac,
you want to go?
Isaac
Okay.
Kamal already had this question, so Isaac,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, I can take Kamal as well. I moved my meeting for 3 o'clock to 4:30, so I can go by 20 minutes.
All right.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Isaac.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Shegun again. So the question I have in mind is, for people like out there that study maybe studied in polytechnic that didn't really study grades that stand out, like law, medicine and surgery, like the rest. How do they choose like the industry that they want to build their career in? I don't
Isaac, I
know.
only another question, right?
All
I mean,
right. So
you were saying for people who study in polytechnic, studied medicine and law.
yeah, when you study medicine, I mean, like it's
Ah,
most likely that you practice medicine, right? But
yeah.
like let me be more specific. People that studied biochemistry, people that studied chemical engineering,
all those kind of
Mhm.
courses that don't really have jobs in Nigeria. How do you then pivot to another career? Or how do you now choose another career to, build yourself in?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Thanks for the additional clarity. Um, so two things I would say. One addresses your first comment around like those jobs are not available in Nigeria, and another one now follows up on the question that you asked. I want to strongly believe that a biochemist can find a job in Nigeria as a biochemist and same than engineer or chemical engineer. Like the food industry literally thrives on biochemists, right? I don't, and also the drug industry, even the pharmaceutical industry as well, or what they call these people that do this makeup. Sorry, I'm not married, so I don't know too much about that. But like all those guys, right? You need people that understand chemical compounds and compositions and what to do, what not to do. Even the regulators need alchemists. Of course, their jobs are not as, maybe publicly shiny or maybe as available or super intense as you see in the US or Europe. But to some level, you need people that do that to guarantee that what you're eating, what you're consuming, what you're taking is still there. So biochemists definitely are available. My brother, for instance, studied biochemistry and he worked for a small company in Nigeria before he left to go and do his master's. Right. So yes, those people have their own jobs for them. And if you choose to take that path, of course you would see maybe not as highly rewarding as consulting, or maybe as tech, right? But definitely has its own fields. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that quick comment so that you can know that don't despair, essentially. But yeah, how those guys find what they want to do, it's quite tricky finding a career path. It's sometimes people are just happy, just lucky with it. Like I stumbled into recruiting, as I mentioned, I did estate management, right, and NYC sent me to Lagos Business School. I was there as MBA department. It was so funny. Let me tell you, I got my job at BCG. I always like telling story because for me it's just super funny. At the same time, I'm always like a broken record at this point. So my job title at Lagos Business School was MBA Admissions Officer, because I was working in the MBA Admissions department. Right, makes sense. But then I saw that people who work in the same departments in US, Europe, and all these top schools, they call themselves MBA recruiters. So I said, it's not the same job that the guy at Harvard is doing that I'm doing. What is there? Kiniyato. So they're just being paid in dollars and I'm paid in naira. So I changed on my LinkedIn, and you see there, from MBA admissions officer to MBA recruiter. That was it. Told my colleagues, and they were like, this guy, you are doing rubbish. What kind of rubbish is that? MBA recruiter, who said about that before? I shall let it there. I kid you not, the following week, BCG reached out and said they wanted to hire a recruiter, and they saw what I was doing. I was like, you see who is laughing now? Because some of my colleagues changed their own to recruiters when that happened. So like I stumbled into recruitment. I of course never knew that I had a career path here. For me, I wanted to just do lecturing straight. So if I were to tell you that this is how I get in a career, I'm not too sure. Of course, you can read a bit more about it and see more. But there is a process of trial and error there, failing forward, sometimes 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward type of thing. Especially in an economy like Nigeria, that's not particularly very helpful, right? Things are tight. So we may not have so much jobs for recent graduates like you would have many, many years back. So it's not very easy. But if you put a gun to my head and say, hey, at least tell us something that we can go with, I would mention 2 things. First is, what you always study as a first degree is what you prepared yourself for the last 4 or 5, and if there are a couple of strikes in between, 6, 7 years. Right? So do not quickly just put on the carpet and let's try and make a living from it in very direct or creative way as you can. Second is, what skill set do you like? Do you have? Do you want to have? Right? And are people willing to pay you for that? Do you think the world is ready for that? Do you think there are people out there who are making money off of that, or maybe you get a living or having a career from it? And maybe you now want to develop it, right? Either now or later. And I think put yourself in spaces where you can be exposed, right? I mentioned, for instance, and I don't like giving personal examples because sometimes I think I'm bragging. But I mentioned, I was at Lagos Business School my early years when I was university for a young talents program. In that class, I mostly sat next to people who did accounting, economics as first degree. I was still in school. And you could hear what people were saying there. Oh, they want to go to an MBA, right? They want to go do, like, they want to work for this investment banking company, or they want to do this. I'm like, I've never heard about MBA. I don't know about investment banking in my life. None of those things rang a bell to me, right? So I was like, wow, there's so many things that one can do outside of your first degree. So I think my answer to you will be put yourself in those spaces that could challenge and stretch your thinking or your experience. Read up on a lot of books, read, listen to podcasts, follow people on LinkedIn, be in places where you can hear about career paths that you can be possibly interested in, rather, right? And once you just start on the journey, you would see that something can then sort of like come up. Then finally, make a career of what you already have too, right? You know, and I'm talking too much, but I hope I'm giving you context, right? Or giving you helpful tips. We can be quickly enamored. I mean, let me say a better word. We can be quickly impressed. Yeah, I think that's a better word. By the things that we see around us, either in the real world or in the social media, internet world. Right? This guy has a Benz, this person lives in this person uses some perfume, they look this way, they're traveling this way. And these sort of things, like, which are good in themselves, make us want them, right? We start falling into the trap of instant gratification. I want it right now, 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 now. My brother, don't compare your worst highlights to somebody's highlight reel, right? Never gets you in that direction. Don't say, oh wow, I met somebody who's at, I don't know, working for CBN, oh my shit, which I work for CBN as well. No, 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 no. Your own CBN time will come, right? It may not come immediately, but you will get there if you put in the effort, right? So don't. Of course, getting something right now is great, but that's not how it works, right? Your life or your career is not a 2-hour movie that everything is compressed in that time frame. No, you're going to live for 60, 70, some people want even to read to 100 years. Good luck with that. So why do you think that the next 2-3 months or 2-3 years of your life will determine the rest of it? No, why not? Right? Like be open to know that things can change. Things will change, right? What you should have with you is the skill set, the investments in yourself, the effort to keep on getting better, right? So much so that the destination, right, is not like the goal. Rather, it's the journey that you're in love with. That journey of becoming better, that journey of trying to be the better than yesterday, trying to upskill. Not so much as that I want to, because if you eventually get what you want, it may seem that it's not all you need, right? Anyway, I'm going to philosophical, means I don't have things structured, but I hope that I've helped you with that context, right? And to quickly recap, I would say one is, as I started with the last one, don't compare, compare is the of joy, right? Secondly, try and make spaces that will challenge you, right? And open your mind. Thirdly, make a career of what you have. Don't just sweep on the carpet what you already currently are doing, because people are doing it and you can live out of it. So what are they doing? How can you mirror it in your own, right? And I think maybe I'll add what I said to Kamal earlier. Give yourself a mentor, right? Get somebody who can you can bounce ideas off with, and can give you, open a whole new world for you. And know that you have a long life to live, right? And don't think that the next 2, 3, 4, 5 days will determine your next couple of decades. Yeah, I don't think that helped, but that's my very long answer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shegun.
Thank you very much, Shegun. I like that you're giving me aspire to perspire. Right. It's good.
Definitely not my goal, but I don't have numbers to back it up, so I will
Okay.
just go to my
Cool. Thank you very much. Any question? Any other question? Any other question?
I haven't heard some people's voices here. I want to hear their voices before I go. I'm going to cold call people to ask me questions. By the way, come out. Let's hear a question first, but I'm going to cold call
All
two
right.
people to ask me questions, because they cannot be passive, silent here.
All right. My questions are in two parts. First one, first. No. So the first question, aside the phone program and YLP, does Mckinsey Lagos host other events for recent graduates or for final year students to prepare them for the role. I think in other countries, other Mckinsey offices, they regularly do that. I think in Nigeria, it's not common for MBB firms to host events like their counterparts out elsewhere would. Then the second question, this is me picking myself, knowing very well that I stand out in the three buckets you described, and as a man who gives opportunities, would you be open to a call sometime next week or in March to sort of get a more detailed feedback on, say, my background and preparing for a career in MBB later this year?
How about you shooting a shot, check? You asked for a question.
Blocking all those shots. Blocking it. Anyway, let me answer the question back to back. So the first one is no, not exactly, right? And that's because I know the main reason, but I won't say that because I'm being recorded. But the other reason, not the main reason, is because the offices here are a lot smaller, right? So the McKinsey office here in Lagos is some 100 people, right? And I'm sure maybe the BCG office is around that number. You can't compare that to the one in like London where they're like 3,000 people, right? Is that right? Yeah. 2,000 people in a building, right? Of course, they have enough resources to do all those very interesting programs, right? And same with that. The other one is, this is actually the main reason, but I'm going to make it more positively correct. The landscape here doesn't particularly require you to do it, right? And let me tell you that so every recruiting activities and investments, which has to return its investment, get what I mean, right? So in some places, you have to over-invest, right, to get one or two people to join, and everybody's like, wow, done this, right? I mean, some other places, you don't need to invest as much. You just need to like till the soil a bit and, bam, things come up for you. Like trying to get oil, for instance, in Niger Delta, you don't need to go too far, like it's there, right? Unlike some places where you need to dig so deep before you find something. So in some countries, right, maybe because the talent pool there is smaller, or by law they have to do a few things, they then start like, okay, let's go hard, right? But I mentioned in the beginning of this talk that Nigeria has like 600,000 graduates coming out of school annually, right? And that doesn't even count those ones that are coming back from the abroad. So let's just imagine that you have 1 Nigerians every year. I need to invest in getting right Nigerians on the door, right? Because I have 1 million to choose from, right? Again, this is just my own opinion, right? But so the onus now shifts to the candidates because one, I have limited resources and I have such a very wide pool to choose from that the candidate has to be the one to now step forward, right, in front of the pack, so they can just pick what is there, right? Maybe in a world where resources are a bit more abundant, like just is a supply and demand thing, right? Economics.
Yeah.
Like you have more demand than supply, then you know what happens to prices, right? When you now have more supply than demand, you know what happens again to prices, right? So that's exactly how I'll look at it. So right now, right, there's a lot more supply than demand, right? And it's not just a consultant, it's also in like say the oil and gas firms. Chevron of those days, or I don't know, Shell of those days will do everything to come and get best. So but now they just give scholarships. They're like, scholarships. Right, but then when you come to campus, fanfare, this one, no, right, because supply outstrips demand, right? So you now need to be the one that stands in front of the pack, right, so that you can get noticed. And once you begin to do a lot of that, you of course stand out more. And also, there are like free programs that you can leverage. McKinsey has a thing called McKinsey Forward. Not sure if you heard about it, but it's an amazing program. BCG has Inside Sherpa, which is, I think, day one day consult and stuff like that. Look for all these programs and do them, right? Definitely will help you. On the other one around personal coaching, nice try. Nice try. I'm away for the next 2 weeks, so it may not be the best time, to be honest. Okay, well, I mean, fate to call me as well and say yes. So I'll say yes this one time. One time. It has to be like maybe like mid-March. or something.
Okay.
It's like I'm going to go my personal vacation. Looking forward to it. So maybe when I'm back mid-March, find a way to contact me. I won't give you my details.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
But it's only one person. It is only one person that
Yeah,
this
it's fine. Kamal was the first one to shoot his shot, so he gets the award.
That's fine.
Thank you very much.
No worries. I said I was going to cold call 2 people.
Yes.
Oh wow. Oluwani David remembers that he has a hand to raise. So Oluwani David.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your input. I
I
feel
don't want to thanks.
A bunch of
I don't want to have faith sent to give people of thanks. Why are you dying?
No. I have something to say, but like that's like my intro.
Get to it now. Don't need to give me too much. Just get to it. Don't mind me. I'm a very tricky person, but yes, go for it.
Just like to make sure I'm on the right track. So currently I'm studying mechanical engineering in my final year. And okay, so my main goal now is to get a good startup or something really I leave school. I don't want to wait too much time at home. I don't want my brain to start rotting, if you get me. So
yeah, as if it doesn't already start.
Yeah, we all am done to them. And there's some points I can start applying. They said that it's not necessary that it has to be within your field. You can pick some things, pick something and see.
Okay, is it just me or is the line breaking from Oluwani's place? Is it just me or is it just breaking?
I think it's breaking. I think it's breaking from David's side.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we have to use the general school Wi-Fi.
So I didn't hear to ask.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
David, can you recap your question?
Okay, sorry about the internet issue. Phones are not. We have to use general Wi-Fi. We are struggling here, but we're fine. So my question was, or more of a confirmation was that now I'm in mechanical engineering, my final year, 500 level, and I'm looking forward to getting a startup, or not necessarily a startup, but like something I can work with immediately I finish school. Some points you mentioned was that it doesn't necessarily have to be your own field. You can now most of the things we're seeing now is consultancy, and I'm into engineering. Have to be directly your own field. You can pick some things and see how you can apply them to your own field to make them better. So I just wanted to make sure I'm
okay,
on
so
the
David,
right.
what's your question?
Man, I didn't hear too.
I thought I wasn't asking a question. I was trying to confirm.
Oh, you were not asking a question.
Right.
Oh, okay, fair.
That's what I said at the beginning. That is not a question, it's just to confirm that one.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hear the track you're on, no, but I think you said it well. So let's did not hear very well the track. Well, okay. Sorry, I really if you type it, maybe I'm able to validate it more, but I didn't quite get it.
All right.
Cool.
About that. Let me say it fast before the next person is leaving again. Is that good?
Yes.
All right. I want to get something that I can work with immediately I finish school. First point. And most of the things we said today was related to consultancy and steps you can take. So my point is, I don't necessarily have to wait for someone to start giving me tips on, okay, focus on engineering, do this. Most of the things we said today are very great pointers, and I can pick that and use them for my own, my own field. Not necessarily have to wait for someone. Is that all right?
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I think another thing I will add to that is the best way to master something is to teach it, right? So now that I have sort of like gotten some points from what everybody has said here, maybe it's not time for you to now try and like teach it. So you have people in your field, network, I don't know, WhatsApp group chats that have this interest similar to what you are thinking about. So it's like to tell them, guys, I learned this and this last week or 2 months ago. That's what I'm trying to now do. right? Can we all do it together? Right? So, of course, making sure that you are doing it first of all. And that way you can refine it, you can practicalize it, of course, you can disseminate it, whatever. And someone can keep you honest, right, as you go about it. So yes, good thing that you are able to see some things that you can take into your own field. I'm happy that that's something that happened to you. But don't just keep it with you. Let the seed germinate in you and others, and you see how you create like a nice rainforest because everybody has its own tree. Don't mind me, I'm too imaginative.
No problem, no problem. I guess you. I got you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Yeah.
Now it's my own turn to ask people to ask me questions.
Right.
So, Debbie Jones, you have been patient till the end. What question do you have for us here, Debbie Jones? This is I know people that have forgotten my list. Oh, she's there. She's still here. Debbie, you are still around. That's good.
Yes,
Tell
I
us
am. Good evening.
what's in your mind, Debbie Jones.
Okay, I don't have any question. I've been following the session so far.
Hello?
Debbie Jones, I can't hear you. Were you saying something else?
Yes, I said I have been following, but I don't have any question. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, yes. So,
You don't have anything that's in your mind that you want to ask the group here. Okay.
no, not really.
Okay. That is all right. That is all right.
Thank you so
Let me
much.
ask somebody else. Jose, do you have any question for the people on this call?
Okay, I don't have any question. The question I actually have was related to like my course, which is biochemistry. But luckily for me, like you already like answered that during the session, so I'm fine.
Okay. I think the last person
Can I
is
call someone?
go for it. I don't know,
Osajimiri. I don't know if she's still here.
don't know if she's still here. I think I have Ayomide, Isaac, Esther.
Osajimiri. Okay, Osajimiri is not here. Esther. What of Esther?
Esther's going to go and cook beans.
Yeah, Esther is cooking beans.
Not cooking beans. So
Okay, she's here.
That
okay,
was the time. That was your cue to run away, but you said to save yourself by trying to be proud. You just use that to say, no. Now you have to ask the question.
okay. So I also don't have any question. If I wanted to ask any question, it was regarding the course I'm studying, microbiology, and microbiology is always paired with biochemistry. Like people don't know the difference. So like about career choices of microbiology students, and you already answered it. So.
Okay. So you're saying that
Oh,
Shegun overdid himself. I'm happy to hear that. This is why we love him.
So, well, people that are doing these our STEM courses, microbiology and biochemistry. Random fact, I wanted to study my first degree. When I first degree was when I first degree to be in biology because I really love biology. My mother was like, hey, "You don't have any future if you do that." She was wrong, clearly. But anyway, I think yeah, it's you guys see. I don't know how much in the game there is still time to play, but if you can just get your grades up and just get your grades up. You may not feel there's an appreciation for what you are doing right here in Nigeria, but developed markets are literally falling over themselves to have what you have, right? So, I mean, and there are tons of scholarships available, like STEM backgrounds like yourself, right? So, if you want to practice exactly what you're doing, then that maybe I should just get like a an Oxford scholarship or something and go to Oxford University for my master's, or maybe I go to, I don't know, Harvard. I've said Harvard so much just today. I need to stop saying that. Or I need to go and do a master's in public health, right? In pivots, right? So yeah, don't sit on your laurels. I know sometimes it's people who wanted to do like medicine ended up in biochemistry or biology, right? So don't drop on your laurels, right? And hey, who knows? You can always do like a second first degree, like a BSc in nursing or something. Everybody's on their own track and everybody's in their own race, right? Or worst case scenario, just come and join me HR, and be dealing with everybody else that's trying to apply. Anyway, happy to have helped. I think I'm going to rest my case now.
Yeah. I think it's been an amazing session. I've been here and there, but the little I could get, I thought it was very informative, very confirming to what I would say just people are saying now. And the Bible says in 2 or 3 witnesses the truth stands. So let me use that same scripture here, that if 2 or 3 people are consistently saying the same thing, then there's some form of truth in it. And I think, like Olu said, one thing is, like, I can use my personal experience. Like, when you get it right initially with your career, it just leapfrog your entire life. So if you can get it right now, like although I said everything, I'm not going to overflog and reflog, but if you can get it right, like your first job, your first internship, and it's fine if your first is not the best, but you owning that, like, this is my life, this is my career, and you not letting people define it for you. Might not start out at the best, but consistently working your way towards the best. I think your future generation would thank you for it. So yeah, but
I see that. Sorry, that thing I always have problem with it. So
why?
generations will go and fight their own fight. They go and fight their own fights. Where were they
Yeah,
when they're
but
fighting
they
their own
would
fight?
thank you for at least setting a good pace for them. Does that
Rubbish and
count?
nonsense.
Does
They
that
should go
count?
and do their pace themselves.
I
I'm
did.
pacing for myself. I'm
If
pacing.
I can make the life of my children better, I'll take
One
it.
day I should be
I'll
best for my
take
children's
it.
future. As the children's future not going anywhere. It's my own future that I'm already. My children should come out. They are not even born yet. I should not worry about them. Rubbish.
I'm thinking of my future generation. I'm thinking of like 10 generations after me.
Rubbish. They should go and make the generation before me don't do anything. I'm all right. They will come and do their own. Don't mind me, please. Oh, take your generation. I beg.
Hey, choose whatever side you want. Cha, be serious with your life. That's the summary.
That's just that works for you. Anyway, this has been nice.
But thank you very
Super happy
much,
to do
Olu. I
this.
do appreciate you. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Kamal has won himself a golden spot with you, so we'll probably go and come and train all of us on the
Come on, will be so
insights.
disappointed. Like, guy didn't say anything important. I promise you. Yes.
On the insights from that session, we're looking forward to it. But thank you for even going beyond time. And yeah, do have an amazing day or evening ahead of you. So,
You too as well. Yeah, man, it's so easy to have a good conversation. So thank you for making it engaging as much as possible.
You're
All
welcome.
the very best. Happy
Thank
Sunday
you.
and have a good week.
We'll probably have you for TSS score 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Infinity.
Please come when they're eating food. I beg, don't be calling me to come to class.
Don't worry.
Next time I want to go to the grading class when they're grading and they're sharing food. That's when I want to come, please.
We're actually inviting for a graduating ceremony. Okay, we'll do that.
It should not be on Zoom.
No, it's not on Zoom. We have physical graduating ceremony, and go big or go home. That's our motto. So
we'll go home if you don't go big. Clearly, I will go to my house. Anyway, see you guys.
Thank
Come on, I'll be seeing you soon. And Faith, all the very best.
Thank you very much. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely evening. All right, people. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.